In today's video, we're breaking down one of Magnus Carlsen's most insane new openings of all time that I'm calling the Norwegian Blobfish Opening. Magnus here on move 1 and 2, bringing out these knights to h3 and a3. Magnus, what on earth are you doing? He's playing the weirdest opening of all time, which don't worry, it gets weirder and weirder from here, earning the title of the new opening, the Norwegian Blobfish Opening. Alright, Black here, trying to keep his composure. He goes e5, seizing control of the center of the board with the pawns on d5 and e5 in this titled Tuesday Blitz game. Now Magnus here, d4 is the move, finally trying to fight back in the center of the board. These knights still looking ridiculous. And by the way, Black here has the option of capturing either of these knights on the a3 or the h3 squares. Would he take them in the game? I mean, what would you do right here as Black? You're facing Magnus Carlsen, the greatest player of all time. Both knights are under attack. Would you capture either of those knights? Comment down below if you would. But Black here does not. Instead, the move here is e4, gaining space in the center of the board and trying to defend the pawn on the e-file. Now Magnus, c4, in the spirit of the Queen's Gambit opening, launching an attack on the Queen's side and pressuring d5. And very interestingly, that knight on the a3 square, it is not dim. Oh no, it supports the c4 pawn. Magnus Carlsen, did you see all the way into the future when you planned this new opening idea? Was this your plan all along? Alright, Black here, the pawn on d5 is under attack, as are the white knights, and again, Black here declines to capture either of those knights. He plays the move c6, defending d5 in the spirit of, say, the Slav opening. Now from here, Magnus, knight to f4, jumping in with his knight, infiltrating on the king's side, but what is this knight threatening? d5 is supported, there's nothing else. Magnus, what on earth are you doing with this knight? And Black here, the federal master, Victoker, he decides it is time to launch a full-scale attack on that knight. It is simply too dangerous to be kept alive. He plays the move g5, gaining space on the king's side, but pushing the very vulnerable g-pawn, a very risky long-term idea. Now, white here, obviously, knight to h3 is the most logical idea, dropping back, pressuring g5, and so on. But instead, Magnus, knight to h5 is the move, jumping in again with his knight. What on earth is this knight doing on the h5 square? This opening gets weirder and weirder. Now, Victoker, he finds the very strong idea, bishop g4, developing but also attacking the knight on the h5 square and forcing it back from whence it came. Magnus, knight g3, in this new opening, the Norwegian Blob Opening. Now here, bishop b6, Black retreats, and Magnus, I mean, the only thing grandmasters do these days, it seems like, is push their h-pawns down the board. And Magnus here, he simply goes for it. He goes full alpha zero. h4 is the move. Giving up the pawn. The pawn is sacrificed for seemingly no reason. Magnus, what have you become in this game? All right, g takes, knight to h5. Who does this guy think he is? Magnus Carlsen? All right, Black, bishop g4. Flying in again, pressuring the knight. And Magnus, knight to f4 again. It's only move 10. And Magnus going knight to h3, to f4, to h5, to g3, to h5, to f4. 6 out of his 10 moves so far in this game have been with this knight. All right, Black, knight to f6. And now Magnus, very strong idea, queen to b3. And Magnus somehow, someway, he's actually getting a decent position as white with some pressure on b7, some pressure on d5. Is Magnus fighting for an edge out of the opening, playing 6 out of 11 moves with his knight so far? This makes no sense. All right, Black, the pawn, it's under attack. What do? Do you sack it with, say, b5, a5, or knight d7? Oh no, Black goes back and defends, bishop c8, but this move is simply too passive. Magnus here, he's simply taking over in this game. e3 is the move, and Magnus here has some sort of, like, good version of an English opening here. Madness. All right, Black, knight to a6, jumping out with his knight. Magnus, bishop d2, guarding b4. Of course, Black had 2 pieces attacking the square, the bishop and the knight, and Magnus now has it completely under control. All right, Black, knight c7, retreating and supporting d5. It makes a lot of sense to me. Now here, bishop b4, Magnus trying to trade off his so-called bad dark squared bishop. Makes a lot of sense to me. Black takes, white takes back, and then here, queen to e7, offering it the queen trade in this new opening, Norwegian Blobfish Opening. Now, Magnus here being the greatest endgame player of all time, he simply trades queens. Queen takes, king takes, and now we're going to see Magnus here simply steamroll Black with his usual trademark endgame style. All right, Magnus, the pawn on h4 is finally under attack. Rook takes h4. He wins the free pawn, and now material is even. But very importantly, Magnus has a fantastic bishop, a so-called good bishop, pressure on d5, decent knights, an active rook. How does this guy do it every single time? Again, who does this guy think he is? Magnus Carlsen? All right, black. Bishop e6, defending d5. Bishop e2, then rook a to g8, attacking g2, but for right now it is supported by that knight on f4 like this. Now, here, Magnus, rook c1, sliding over, threatening potentially, taking on d5, then taking on c7, a simple threat, but honestly, a little bit dangerous. All right, black, rook g5, defending d5 with the rook lift on the 5th rank, and now g3, bolsters that knight and defends that g-pawn permanently on the g3 square. All right, black, a6, guarding b5, potentially eyeing ideas like b5, gaining space on the queen side. We'll have to wait and see how it goes in this game. Now, Magnus here, how does he proceed in this endgame? What is his strategy? How is he going to find the critical breakthrough he needs to kind of fight for the edge in this endgame? Let's find out, but real fast. If you are tired of watching endless chess YouTube videos and you're not making any progress with your online chess, I know the feeling, and that's why I made the Dr. Mike Chess Academy. It's a free online chess community / coaching program where I will personally show you how to go from 0 to 2,000 plus ELO as soon as possible, just like I did. So, if you want to learn how to finally make progress with online chess, go to drmikechess.com. Links above and down below in the pinned comment. Again, it's totally free. I have so many ways there to help you. A community, courses, group coaching. I'll answer your questions daily. Go there if you want to improve at online chess. Now back to the video. All right, Magnus, what is the plan? How do you want to proceed in this endgame? Well, it begins by taking on d5 with the pawn. We have c takes d5, knight c takes d5, knight takes e6, king takes e6, and then finally knight c4. Finally, it's move 23, and this knight, it was stuck on a3 the entire game, finally enters the game on, honestly, a pretty decent square here. All right, black, it's under a lot of pressure. It's got a lot of pawn weaknesses. E4, F7, H7, whereas Magnus has no real weaknesses to speak of. Nothing can really be attacked in this endgame. All right, black, rook d8, trying to activate his rook, and Magnus knight d2, pressuring e4 with the knight and the rook. Not a bad strategy at all. Maybe this piece too will somehow join in the party, pressuring e4 like this. Now, black, king to f5 is the move, but this right here is a fatal mistake, trying to defend e4, as now Magnus, he finds an absolutely beautiful idea here. He simply jumps in with his knight. Knight takes e4 is the move, and what is the idea? Sooner or later, the bishop will go to d3, pressuring the king, and there will be ideas like potentially rook to f4, trying to chase away the king, and therefore winning whatever is on the e4 square. Let's see how it happens. Knight takes e4, bishop d3, knight to f6, trying to defend e4, but now bishop takes, knight takes, and then rook to f4, sliding over with the rook, hitting the king, forcing it back, and then winning the knight. Magnus finding a beautiful combination here to simply win one pawn on the e4 square like this. Both sides lose two minor pieces, but Magnus gains the critical e4 pawn, and that should be enough to simply run away with this endgame in this new opening, the Norwegian Blob Opening. All right, black, rook b5, trying to pressure b2. Magnus, he sees this. He knows his CCTOs, checks, capture, threats, optimizations, or if you're like me and you use the attack or develop thinking system, whatever you want to use, Magnus here, CCTO, attack or develop, whatever it is, he sees it. b3 defends b2, and now rook d to d5. Now king d2, the king march begins. Rook to h5, rook g4 hits the king on g6, king to f6, rook f4 once again hits the king to e6, and then e4, the pawn march begins. Rook to a5, a4, defends the a pawn on the a file, king to e7, king e3, rook a to g5, b4, Magnus slowly but surely gaining space all over the board, activating all of his pieces. He's in no rush. He simply wants to slowly but surely steamroll his opponent in this endgame. Rook g6 is the move. Rook c5, offering the rook trade, which, to be honest, would be to Magnus Carlsen's benefit as more and more pieces come off the board. Black's chances of drawing do diminish. But what else can black do? The rook, where else can it go? h6, h1. To be honest, neither square makes a good impression in this endgame. Black here takes on c5. Rook takes c5, b takes c5. Rook to h6 slides over. Rook h4 offers the rook trade. We have rook takes and g takes, and here In this position, Magnus Carlsen's opponent, Vic Toker, the federal master, he simply resigns on the spot as, let's face it, this really is a losing king and pawn endgame, and Magnus being the greatest endgame player of all time, there isn't much fight he can put up here. Wow, what a game between Magnus and Vic Toker in this Title Tuesday tournament from 2024, where Magnus busting out the new opening on moves 1 and 2. Don't try this at home if you're a beginner. I mean, this is not your standard chess opening right here, but Magnus finding a way to make it work in this game. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please show me some love. Smash that like button, comment down below what you thought of the game. By the way, if you are tired of watching endless chess YouTube videos and you finally want to reach 1,000, 1,500, even 2,000 ELO, and finally feel like you have some sort of mastery over the game, trust me, I know the feeling, and that's why I made the Dr. Mike Chess Academy. It's free to join. Just go to drmikechess.com. It takes you straight there to the academy. It's free. We have a free community, free courses, free group coaching, free game reviews, pretty much everything you need to really understand how to actually improve at chess. So, if you want to learn from me, a 2,000 ELO online player, go to drmikechess.com. I'll see you there. Links above, also down below in the pinned comment and the description. And as always, I wish you the best of luck in your chess improvement journey in 2025 and beyond. And I'll see you in the next video.